But for sure, it was something what I've missed, you know, in a way of achieving things. And so yeah.
The tennis world had no idea what was about to happen. Even John McEnroe missed it completely. He was sitting in that ESPN booth in January, watching the World No.1 fall apart on Rod Laver Arena. Cramping, barely walking, losing, and McEnroe, live on air, lost it, called it favoritism, questioned everything. Then Sinner stood back up. That moment felt like the story, it wasn't even close. Because what came next made January irrelevant. 4 months later in Rome, Sinner just did something that no world #1 has ever dared to do in the entire history of this sport. Not in the Federer era, not in the Nadal era, not during Djokovic's peak. A feat so clean, so complete, so statistically violent, that Novak Djokovic himself stopped everything to acknowledge it publicly. This territory didn't exist in professional tennis until 4 months ago, and Sinner didn't just attempt it, he finished it. In straight sets, on home soil, in front of his entire nation.
Of course, my team, thanks for pushing me, thanks for believing in me. I know we are doing something incredible, so thank you so much. Thanks.
Subscribe right now. You need to be here when we break exactly what happened. There is one record sitting at the center of the story. Once you understand its size, everything McEnroe said in January tells a completely different story. Sinner walked onto the Campo Centrale on May 17th, and the crowd was already on its feet before the first ball was struck. 50,000 people in Rome. The Italian president sitting in the stands, and in the front row, Adriano Panatta, the last Italian man to win this tournament. A moment that hadn't happened in half a century was about to close. But the Roman crowd wasn't just watching a final. They were watching the completion of something that had been building since November, a streak so methodical, so relentless, and so unprecedented that the ATP Tour's own statisticians kept running the numbers twice just to confirm what they were seeing. 6 consecutive ATP Masters 1000 titles. Paris, Indian Wells, Miami, Monte Carlo, Madrid, Rome, 3 different surfaces, 9 months of professional tennis at its absolute highest level. And not once, not in a single final across all 6 of those tournaments, did Sinner drop a set. To understand why that number is so significant, you need to understand what the Masters 1000 series actually is. These are the 9 biggest tournaments in men's tennis below the Grand Slams. The fields are full, the draw is deep. Every top 10 player in the world is present and prepared. Winning 1 back-to-back is considered elite. Winning 3 in a row puts you in the conversation with the greatest players who ever lived. The record before Sinner, the absolute ceiling that this sport had ever seen, was 4 consecutive titles. Novak Djokovic reached 4 3 separate times across his career. Rafael Nadal reached 4 once. Between them, those 2 men account for 64 Grand Slam titles, and neither of them ever reached 5. Sinner is at 6. That record alone would be the story of the year in any other season. But in Rome last Sunday, the streak was only the second most significant thing that happened. The final against Casper Ruud lasted 1 hour and 44 minutes. Ruud is not a soft opponent. He has reached 2 Roland Garros finals. He won the Madrid Masters in 2025. He arrived in Rome having dropped only 11 games across his entire run to the final, including a 6-1, 6-1 demolition of Luciano Darderi in the semi-final. He was rested, sharp, and motivated. Sinner, by contrast, had played a rain-delayed semi-final against Daniil Medvedev that stretched across 2 days, a grinding, physically punishing match that left him visibly exhausted. He was bending over between points. His team had genuine concerns heading into Sunday. None of it mattered on the court. Ruud broke Sinner in the opening game, took a 2-0 lead. The crowd held its breath. And then Sinner broke back, settled into his rhythm, and from that point the match moved in one direction only. A drop shot at 4-4 in the first set, placed so precisely that Ruud didn't even move for it, was the moment the crowd understood what was happening. Sinner held to love, took the set 6-4, broke immediately at the start of the second, and closed it out 6-4 with clinical efficiency. Ruud won 8 of the first 9 points in the match. He won 17 games across the entire tournament before the final. Against Sinner, he won 8 games total across 2 sets. The numbers from the Masters 1000 streak are genuinely difficult to contextualize. Sinner has now won 34 consecutive matches at this level. The previous record was 31, set by Novak Djokovic in 2011. Sinner broke that record in the quarterfinals against Andrei Rublev, a 6-2, 6-4 victory that took 92 minutes, and then extended it further by winning the semifinal and the final. He has won 81% of his career Masters 1000 matches. Only Rafael Nadal has more wins at this level through the first 150 appearances. Sinner has now won 5 Masters 1000 titles in a single season, closing in on Djokovic's single-season record of 6 set in 2015. But it was what happened at the trophy ceremony that stopped the tennis world completely. When the Roma title was confirmed, Sinner became only the second man in the history of the ATP Tour to complete the career Golden Masters, a full sweep of all 9 Masters 1000 events. The first man to do it was Novak Djokovic in Cincinnati in 2018. Djokovic was 31 years old when he completed the set. He had spent over a decade and a half at the elite level of professional tennis, collecting titles across every surface in every city on the ATP calendar before he finally closed the final gap. Sinner completed it at 24, 7 years younger, in his 6th full season on tour. Think about what that actually means in practical terms. Djokovic won his first Masters title in 2007. He completed the career Golden Masters in 2018. 11 years between first title and completed set. Sinner won his first Masters title in Toronto in 2023. He completed the career Golden Masters in Rome in 2026. 3 years. The trajectory is not just faster, it belongs to a different category of tennis career entirely. Sinner addressed the crowd after the trophy was handed over. He looked across the stadium, found Panatta in the front row, and spoke directly to him. Adriano, after 50 years, we've won back a very important trophy. The 75-year-old Panatta, who won this exact tournament in 1976 and followed it weeks later with a Roland Garros title, stood and acknowledged the moment. The Italian president, Sergio Mattarella, watched from his seat as the Campo Centrale erupted. Ruud spoke at the ceremony too. He turned to Sinner during the trophy presentation and said, "What you are doing this year, it is hard to describe in words. As someone who is also playing tennis at the highest level, to realize what you are doing is hard to describe. It is an honor to watch you play." That was not a consolation speech. That was a professional athlete standing at the highest level of his sport, openly acknowledging that he had just shared a court with something he had never seen before. Novak Djokovic went to Instagram, 3 words and a full stop. "Welcome to the exclusive club, Jannik." That brings the story back to John McEnroe, because the McEnroe narrative from January is not just a controversy that faded. It actually reframes the entire arc of 2026 in a way that matters. McEnroe's accusation at the Australian Open was specific. He wasn't attacking Sinner personally. He was questioning whether the tournament's heat rule had been applied with genuine impartiality, whether a player of Sinner's stature received a treatment that a lower-ranked opponent might not have. Sinner himself didn't deny the luck involved. He walked off court, sat with his team, and said publicly, "I got lucky with the heat rule. They closed the roof." There was no spin, no deflection, no media management. He acknowledged the fortune and moved forward. That is a detail worth holding on to, because what the McEnroe moment actually revealed was not corruption or favoritism. What it revealed was that Sinner was vulnerable, that he could be hurt, that the physical demands of professional tennis at this level could expose him in ways that his baseline dominance usually conceals. Melbourne showed a crack. Rome answered every question that Melbourne asked. The Rome title capped a clay season that will sit in the record books permanently. Monte Carlo, Madrid, Rome, all 3 Clay Masters 1000 events in the same season. The last man to do that was Rafael Nadal in 2010. Sinner is now 17-0 on clay in 2026. He has not lost a completed match at Masters 1000 level since Carlos Alcaraz beat him in the Rome final in 2025, the tournament before his 3-month doping suspension began. Since returning from that ban, the losses at this level are 2 retirements through injury, not defeats. Now he walks into Roland Garros as the top seed 17-0 on clay, with Carlos Alcaraz absent from the draw due to a right wrist injury. Roland Garros is the only Grand Slam missed from Sinner's collection. He holds 2 Australian Open titles, a US Open title, and a Wimbledon title. The career Grand Slam, winning all 4 majors, sits 1 tournament away. Panatta won Rome, then won Roland Garros in 1976. Nobody has replicated that Italian clay double in the 50 years since. Sinner now has the opportunity to do both in the same calendar month. The scale of what is unfolding in 2026 is genuinely difficult to place historically while it is still happening. Context usually arrives later, once careers are finished and the full picture is visible. But certain things are clear right now. Sinner is 24 years old. He has 4 Grand Slam titles. He has 10 Masters 1000 titles, including all 9 events. A collection that took the greatest player in the history of the sport 31 years to assemble. He is the youngest man to complete the career Golden Masters. He has the longest active winning streak at Masters level in the Open era. He entered this French Open with the most dominant clay record of any active player in 2026, and with his primary rival sidelined through injury. McEnroe called it favoritism in January. Djokovic called it an exclusive club in May. Ruud stood across the net and said the words were hard to find. The number at the center of this story is 6. 6 consecutive Masters 1000 titles. No world number 1 in the history of this sport has ever dared to reach it. Most never came close. The few who stood at the edge of that record looked across and decided that 4 was the ceiling. Sinner looked at the same ceiling, walked straight through it, and is currently operating in territory this sport has never mapped. If you are not subscribed to this channel, hit that button right now and turn on notifications. The French Open begins this week. Sinner is the favorite. The career Grand Slam is 1 tournament away. And if 2026 continues the way it has moved since November, the next video on this channel is going to cover something the tennis world has never had to write about before.